Brad Sherwin, Technical Agronomy and Data Analytics Lead for Landis Cooperative, and welcome to the Agronomy Minute. Farming is all about risk and reward. Each year you invest money in renter land payments, seed, herbicide, insecticide, fungicide, and fertilizers. Our job is to help you navigate all the decisions you need to make so you come out ahead financially. Now in today's episode, we're going to talk about sudden death syndrome in soybeans. Sudden death syndrome in soybeans is a result of a fungal infection very early in the season. Now this is a little confusing though, because the fusarium that infects the plant soon after planting usually doesn't show its symptoms until much later in the growing season after the reproductive stages have begun. So how does it all work? Well, once you have an SDS issue in the field, it doesn't just go away. Chlamydia spores survive year to year, either on the residue or freely in the soil. As conditions begin to warm up in the spring, the chlamydia spores begin to germinate and infect the roots of soybean plants. Now, foliar symptoms are normally observed once the reproductive stages of growth are reached, in other words, the flowering and pod development. Toxins are produced by the disease down in the roots of the plant and then move up through the stem and into the leaves. If your area has a high level of soybean cyst nematode, they can cause additional stress on the soybean plants, allowing the SDS to move faster into and ultimately up through the plant. Now, foliar symptoms look a lot like a number of other diseases such as brown stem rot, since both brown stem rot and SDS show green leaf veins with quickly dying yellow to brown tissue between the veins. The key difference is that brown stem rot is dark and discolored in the pith only, whereas sudden death syndrome makes the whole inside of the stem brown and discolored. Now, as far as field prep, there are a number of cultural practices that can greatly reduce the incidence and damage from SDS. Crop rotation to a non-host crop like corn or wheat will help. As mentioned earlier, SDS can survive a long time in the soil. Improving subsurface drainage and reducing soil compaction are the two practices that can make the biggest impact for fields that will be planted to soybeans this spring. Excess water in the soil can lead to increased disease infections, and compacted soils don't allow for adequate root growth or water and air movement. And while it has reduced the severity of SDS damage, planting later is not recommended, as the yield loss from late planting has outweighed any potential gains. Now, as far as variety selection, there is a big difference in the tolerance of soybean varieties to SDS. You still have to pick the highest yielding variety, but if SDS is common in your fields, choosing this defensive trait is critical and could make all the difference in the success of your soybean crop. There doesn't seem to be any inherent tolerance to SDS from either of the two major soybean traits, nor are there any completely resistant varieties. Now, as far as seed treatment, fungicides from the SDHI family, the group 7, work very well in reducing SDS incidence in soybean fields. For roughly the cost of 1 bushel of soybeans, it only takes a moderate to severe SDS problem once every 10 years to justify the cost to add one of these treatments. Add to the fact that the seed treatments have been shown to help reduce the impact of nematodes, and the cost of the seed treatments gets much easier to justify. Now, as far as post-treatment, there's evidence that keeping the plant healthier throughout the season delays the onset of SDS and leads to higher yields. This doesn't mean the disease still won't show up and hurt yields. The key to limiting the impact of SDS in your fields is to keep plant health a priority throughout the season. The chance of having a significant SDS problem is higher on your early planted soybean fields, so plant varieties with the highest level of tolerance first, and use the methods described earlier to protect your plants and ultimately get the highest yields possible. Now that's all for today's episode. Thank you for taking time to watch our video. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when we post our next video. And lastly, hit that thumbs up so we can bring you more agronomic content. We really appreciate it.